At around 12 a.m. we realized that we were clearly the winners of the election, that we had won, said Suleyman Celebi, an aide to CHP Istanbul candidate Ekrem Imamoglu. The party's own data, he said, showed they had defeated Erdogan's close ally and former Prime Minister Binali Yildirim, despite an exhaustive and bitter two-month campaign waged by the president and backed by an overwhelmingly pro-government media. That newfound confidence, supported by initial results the next morning showing Imamoglu had narrowly beaten Yildirim, was forged in an opposition campaign that contrasted sharply with Erdogan's high-profile, confrontational election strategy. The softly spoken Imamoglu, spurning the kind of mass rallies which Erdogan addressed daily, sought to win over a broad spectrum of voters with a positive message, meeting many of them face-to-face in a campaign which even his opponents acknowledged struck a chord with the electorate. Celebi said Turks, tiring of divisive and polarizing language from their leaders, warmed to a new style of politics. This time we saw an open will to vote for Ekrem Imamoglu across all parts of society, he said. The CHP made a formal alliance with the breakaway nationalist Good party and also won votes in Istanbul from supporters of the pro-Kurdish HDP party, which chose not to field a mayoral candidate there to boost Imamoglu's chances. Dented or a confirmation of defeat in Istanbul, a city of 15 million people, and Ankara would not reduce Erdogan's sweeping presidential powers, but would seriously dent the aura of invincibility he has built up during 16 years of ever tighter control over the country. His AKP, which has challenged results in both Ankara and Istanbul, still won 51.6% of the national vote together with its nationalist MHP alliance partner, down from 53.7% in parliamentary elections last year. Maybe we should have given another message instead of survival, said one source at AKP headquarters in Ankara who described it as ill-suited for voters worried about living standards and local services. As early as January, AKP officials were sounding the alarm over falling public support amid high inflation and rising unemployment. Authorities responded to soaring food prices by setting up stalls in Ankara and Istanbul selling subsidized vegetables. That too may have backfired, the same source said, as TV footage of people queuing for food revived images of old Turkey and the chronic inflation of the 1990s. Long lines being formed disrupted the perception of the AK party, he said. Another party source said the AKP was still missing former campaign manager Erol Alkak, a close friend of Erdogan who masterminded AKP election victories before he was killed on an Istanbul bridge during a failed military coup in 2016. In recent elections, the AKP could not find its groove, he said. Praising the CHP's strategy of focusing on direct contact with the people, a third source said, if we had paid attention to the messages from the start and then taken necessary steps, the results could have been different today. For Imamoglu, now preparing to take over Turkey's largest city and govern 15 million people with a projected expenditure of 24 billion lira, $4.3 billion, the campaign is over but the battle not yet won. Imamoglu says the electoral board must do its job and declare him victor, but, in keeping with the tone of his campaign, he has stressed consensus over confrontation. We really need to help each other, he said a day after the vote, as it became clear the close result could trigger a bitter dispute. I would like to remind you that we walk side by side on the same path, that we are in the same boat. $1 equal liras.